Hello everybody, it's Kunle Campbell, host of the 2x eCommerce podcast show, and just welcome to the 2x eCommerce podcast. Now, the episode you're about to listen to is an interview I had with Trevor Crotts. Now, Trevor Crotts is a serial entrepreneur. He started out his e-commerce journey about 10 years ago, and I think he had a really interesting backstory. They were selling like pet products, and he made a tweak in his pet product business that made an impact. I think a 30% uplift in conversions on product pages, and he decided to sort of spin another side business off the back of that hack. And that hack was 3D models, using what he calls like 3D virtual photography and augmented reality to really pump up and enrich product pages. So in this podcast, we speak specifically about what 3D virtual photography is about, how mixed reality, as he calls it, or augmented reality can actually be a game changer in e-commerce, stores. If you're, looking to take the audio visual experience a bit further in your e-commerce store, then this episode is a really good one you want to listen to, because if we look at the evolution of media in e-commerce, it all started with like high resolution images. It transitioned to having videos on product pages, and what Trevor is saying is the next frontier, which early adopters are using, is augmented reality, predominantly on mobile phones, and 3D virtual photography. That is like photography in which you could tweak, you could sort of interact with, spin, turn around, look, get a full 3D view of products that you sell. So it's super interesting. He has a very interesting profile. Listen to it if you're looking to improve conversions on product pages. Now, if you haven't already, do leave us a review on iTunes. Someone in the United States did a shout out to Freddie. Thank you for leaving a review. If you're not yet connected to us on YouTube, do us a favor, follow us on YouTube. And finally, join our Facebook group. We're a bunch of, just enthusiastic, happy, focused people in the Facebook group. And I should be doing more Facebook Lives. Enjoy this episode because it will teach you about 3D modeling, and I shall catch you on the other side. Thank you. Welcome 2Xers to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. I'm your host, Kunle Campbell, and this is the e-commerce podcast dedicated to rapid growth in online retail. So if you are a founder, you work in a marketing team at a direct-to-consumer e-commerce business, or you're in the SaaS space servicing, the e-commerce space, this is the podcast where a lot of people in the industry tune in to figure out or to help them grow metrics such as conversions, average order value, repeat customers, audience size, and ultimately sales. I bring experts every single week of the year. Yes, every single week of the year. We've interviewed over 300 experts, and their remit essentially is how can they help you listeners, you 2Xers, just grow more sustainably, long-term, more intentionally, and just serve the markets purposefully you serve, essentially. Right now, on today's episode, when the opportunity to speak with this guest came on board, I just jumped at it. And the reason why is I remember when the founder of Shopify was talking about the future of e-commerce, and they were talking about like augmented reality, and his company does a lot. I'm talking about a lot. Our guest company, and I'm going to get to him shortly. They do, first of all, they started off with running a pet business, essentially, which is doing phenomenally well, and it's a multi-channel pet business. And then they saw the effectiveness of 3D images in the impact of their sales, which we're going to talk about. And they launched a 3D rendering business essentially for e-commerce. And they've also layered in augmented reality. We're talking about, many brands here. Now, the to just give you a bit of an intro for my guest. His name is Trevor Crotts, and he's the founder of Buddy Brands. Now, Buddy Brands is a pet products company that was founded back in 2011, 10 years ago. And their most well-known brand was Buddy Rest, which are pretty much dog beds, as well as Sit Say, which is pretty much in the dog supply industry. And they pretty much have extended that into a 3D modeling business, which I'm going to talk to you about, and an augmented reality business, which we're going to talk about. I'm not going to babble too much. I just want to introduce Trevor Crotts to the show. Welcome, Trevor.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Fantastic. I probably haven't done you sufficient justice making with the introduction I just gave. Could you take a minute or two to introduce yourself and all the companies you run?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Trevor Crotts. I'm the president of Buddy Brands. I'm also the president of Compel Commerce and Scan Shop. My story started about 10 years ago. I was working in the mattress industry, and I had a big dog at the time named Buddy. And it was interesting for me to find out one day at the vet that he wasn't expected to live that long, and I had a poodle growing up that lived to be about 15, 16 years old. And so when the doctor told me that Buddy was only expected to live to 10, I was really kind of thrown back by that. And upon doing some more research, I found out that the reason that big dogs like him, he was a Labradoodle, full-size standard big dog. The reason that big dogs like him live a lot less, or they don't live as long, is because of painful joint problems. The vast majority of the time dogs are euthanized is because of painful joint problems and quality of life issues that come around them. Now, at the time, I was working as a corporate trainer in the mattress industry, and so I had seen firsthand how a good support system had really helped people out. I'd seen how it helped people with arthritis and hip problems, and I also knew that what a supportive sleep system was made up of. And when I looked to do something proactive for my dog, there was nothing out there that was supportive at all. There was a lot of companies out there claiming to have supportive dog beds, but then they used the same foam that you would pack stuff and ship around the country with. It wasn't stuff that you'd find in a real mattress. So we endeavored to take the same science that you found in the mattress industry and cross it over into pets, and to do something, build a business, make something that's a supportive system for older dogs that have arthritis as well as younger dogs as a proactive measure. And that's what we did. We created Buddy Rest basically to help dogs like Buddy and the millions of dogs out there that were destined to suffer the same arthritic fate. And that's where we got started.
And what's the impact on Buddy's life?
Yeah, so Buddy, unfortunately, he passed away last October. He actually was 15, so he lived well past his expectation, and he had a great life, obviously. You can imagine he had plenty of dog beds to lay on, and he spent his last few weeks, we toured Colorado and got to see some awesome stuff. So I can't help but think, though, that our dog beds and some of our other products made a big difference in his life as he aged. And it definitely helps me sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that not only are we a business, but our products really do make an impact, especially for animals that have issues.
Or vice versa. Go for it.
Absolutely. I mean, and we have a bunch of different brands that we have now. Ultimately we started as Buddy Rest, and after a couple of years we found ourselves with kind of a nice niche business, but it was still a pretty small market. Those beds were designed to be redistribute weight equally across the surface of the bed. So you have dogs that are in a lot of arthritic pain, all of a sudden have a pain-free haven for them to lay. We had some great success. We're the #1 vet-recommended dog bed on the planet. But at the end of all that, we did find ourselves still in that small niche. And so we were opportunistic, and through 2 different acquisitions over the last 10 years, we've gotten into multiple different brands. And so now we have a bunch of different brands that go after a bunch of different segments of the market, including Buddy Rest, Pup IQ, Tough Pup, Natural Doggy, Sit Stay, and a few others. And the reason for our multiple brand approach is simple. Not all dog people are the same, and in this day and age, it's super important that your message resonates with your audience. But also, the thing that ties it all together is all of our products are all solution based. And so what I mean by that is that we're not the ones that make the cool dog hoodies. We make solution based products that solve real problems for pet people. such as mobility, pain, allergies, anxiety, and those types of things. And so all of our products are geared around solving those problems. And when the head hits the pillow, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, less the feel good, more the long term, happiness and impact in the lives of dogs and pets in general.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have this portfolio of brands. And also from our initial conversation, I understand that you not only sell, direct to consumer on your website, you are multi-channel. Could you just take us through your multi-channel strategy? Where you started, why you thought about moving, to multiple channels, and how you're doing your multiple channels versus D2C on your website?
Yeah, sure. So in the beginning, in the very beginning, we actually were trying to sell to retailers, brick and mortar. The idea is that we could sell a superior product and that they would be able to put it on their shelves and do really well with it. And what we found out was that we were really good at articulating the value of why our product was better, because it's definitely not the cheapest product out there. And oftentimes people think of dog beds as kind of like a commodity thing where they buy it and they use it for a couple months and wash it a couple times, it falls apart, they throw it away, they buy it again. And here we were with a dog bed that's designed to last 10 years, improve the quality of life of your animal, help reduce arthritic tendencies and that type of thing. And so we found out we were great at articulating that to the store owner, but that's kind of where it ended. So we got a lot of orders, but not a lot of reorders. So we were in about 600 retail stores in the first 2 years. And then we realized that there was just a huge disconnect between that part-time employee and being able to share the value of what our product was really about. And so we made a switch to a e-commerce approach in about year 2 or 3, and we never looked back. Although we do some brick and mortar stuff occasionally here and there with some of our brands. Almost all of our focus is on e-commerce, which obviously with COVID and everything these days it's been a good place to find ourselves in pets and e-commerce in general. We have an omni-channel strategy, though, that we work with a lot of great partners. We only work with value-added partners, so we work with the likes of like Target, Cabela's, Bass Pro, and then we also sell directly through our own properties. And then, we have a super curated policy, though, as far as channel management. To go back to your question, we don't just list it everywhere that someone wants to sell it. We're the only ones that can sell it on Amazon.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Klaviyo is a growth marketing platform that powers over 25,000 online businesses. Klaviyo understands every single customer interaction and empowers brands to create more personalized marketing moments. Listen, analyze, and act on your customer data with Klaviyo. Visit klaviyo.com/2x.
Amazon. That way we control the pricing integrity. We make sure that we're not encouraging a race to the bottom that can disintegrate brands, and I've seen it happen. So we're pretty careful with how we run and operate the business and who we sell through.
Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. And I can imagine the story. So what kind of stories do you tell your... So there are two aspects really in terms of like communication with customers I'm seeing here. One's the super emotional and yet relatable story with Buddy, and the second really is the utility of the product, how functional they are, how long lasting they are. So how do you communicate these two, the emotions and the logic up front to potential customers so they get the value and don't hesitate essentially to make that decision?
Yeah, I absolutely love that question, Kunle, because really where we're at is we're in an enlightened space where that was not always the case. Me being a very logical, direct person by nature, I used to always try to sell features to benefits in a logical way. And, you need to buy this bed because it makes the most practical sense. But what I've come to find out over the years is that, there's the logic gun and there's the emotional gun. The difference between the two is only the emotional gun has the trigger, right? So people tend to buy on emotion, and then they reinforce with logic, not the other way around. And I think that was a mistake we made early on that we learned. And I think I see a lot of other brands out there that are really trying on the logic side, and they're kind of missing the emotional piece. So for us, we focus on, trying to, well, first off, just with our product photography, showing a lot of lifestyle images, showing a lot of dogs, showing a lot of product in use, letting them connect emotionally with the pet on the bed, and understand that it's all about getting your dog happy and healthy. And those things are absolutely interrelated. In the beginning, some of the mistakes we've made is we just showed the beds, we just showed the product. We might have a picture of a dog on a bed occasionally here and there, but it really wasn't all over the place. And so that's something we're really focusing on now, even more so with that particular brand, is how can we use more lifestyle photography? How can we get more product photos where it has the emotional connection to the dogs in there? And admittedly, it's not always been, something that I was great at. And so it's something that we're continuing to work on, is getting that emotional connection there. And then obviously, tying features to benefits. Our beds are designed to last the lifetime of your animal. They're vet recommended by a ton of veterinarians. They redistribute weight equally across the surface. They need to be washed less. A lot of little tiny details go into the product that make a really amazing product that people don't recognize on the surface, like using number 8 size zippers so they don't break over time, little pocketed zipper pulls so it doesn't scratch the floor, using a real rubber bottom, not a little grippy pad bottom that washes off in the wash. These types of things really create an amazing product, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how amazing your product is if you're not able to articulate the value of it to the customer. And also, if you're not able to articulate the emotional side that raises that urge to buy, right? I think it takes both.
You say you're a logical person, but when I asked you to sort of give your backstory, you gave a real story, which I would never forget, essentially. And then you talked about the features. I actually had to dig the features out of you, so I can just imagine, customers who, I can just imagine, customers. Okay, let's move quite swiftly to 3D models. What has been the impact of just 3D models? 3D modeled, or I think the term you referred to, 3D virtual photography. High fidelity textures. What's been the impact of 3D, virtual photography on your business, on not just Body Rest, but all of your other sister brands like Sit Stay?
Yeah, absolutely. So 3D product photography there's a couple different things to unpack right there. So there's virtual product photography, where you can take a 3D model and put it into a room and make it look naturally and native. But what I think what we're talking about is actually the 3D models deployed for e-commerce on a website, which I will absolutely love to talk about. But if you don't mind, I'd like to show the audience too, if that's cool.
Go for it.
I will show you real quick the Buddy Rest store, which you should be able to see here on the tab. And we'll talk about how you can actually use this and what it does for you. So if you were to go to shop all, are you seeing my page there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is for if you're watching this on YouTube, the screen share is there. I'm just going to explain what we're seeing for the podcast listeners.
Yeah. So what you're seeing here on the product page is you see all the lifestyle photography I was just talking about, and then you can actually, if you click on, you see some of the videos that we're able to do with our 3D models. But that's actually not what I'm referring to. Those are some extra cool things that we can do.
Okay.
If you pull up a product page, and if you're on mobile, this will actually also prompt a 3D augmented reality. It's a little bit slow right now just because we're streaming, but you can actually go to a product page and actually select a 3D model.
Okay.
And the stream is a little slow here, so it's a little bit difficult to work with. But what you get when you actually open the 3D model is you get the ability to articulate the model in all sorts of different directions.
So it's three-dimensional. You could flip it over, you could turn it left, you could turn it right. You could almost hold it, essentially, because people talk about video being the final frontier, but you can't. The video shows you what it shows you, but in this case, it looks as if with what you're doing, you're pretty much playing with it like it was in your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. So giving customers better access, and it doesn't want to cooperate with the fact that we're streaming it right now. So
okay.
I'm gonna kill that. But if anybody wants to take a look at it, you can look at it at buddyrest.com.
I'll link to it in the show notes.
Sure. And so what it actually does, I was wanting to show it, but let me speak to it really quick. by putting a 3D digital twin of your product on your profile page, which on your product page, which by the way is very possible right now. Any Shopify site, you can actually do that natively with all the major templates right now. So you can actually drag and drop right into as a thumbnail right into your product photography, a 3D model. What that will allow the customer to explore it from all the different axes. You can see it in different angles. You can zoom in closely. You can zoom out. And it's a high fidelity, authentic representation of your product. So you give the customer better access to the product. It raises conversion rates. Now we've seen on our page about 30 to 50% increased conversion page on page when you deploy the 3D model. And the standard right now is about 30% uplift in conversion rates when you put the 3D model on the website. If you have a product that lends itself well to augmented reality, it's much, much, much higher than that.
What kind of products lend themselves best to augmented reality?
The limits are only put on ourselves by our imaginations. But I will tell you that, for example, we use dog beds as a great use case because that's close to my heart. If you're shopping in a store, you might be able to feel what something looks like, but you don't know if it's going to fit in that corner or what it's going to look like next to the couch or if it's going to fit in this room all right. And so, for example, with a dog bed, you're now able to bridge that gap between shopping at home and shopping at a store, which is more important than ever now. And you can actually see what that product looks like sitting in your living room. And if you have a mobile phone that's been out in the last 2 or 3 years, it can absolutely deploy this natively. So for your audience at home, if they're wanting to take a look at some more information, they can go to buddyrest.com right now on their mobile phone. And on any of our product pages, they'll have a button that populates that says View in My Space. You can click that, and that engages the native mixed reality experience that Shopify has. And that's available on any Android or Apple phone. A lot of other great use cases besides furniture. There's pretty much any brand is going to want to have the 3D model, but the augmented reality piece lends itself super well to furniture, to art, to being able, anything that you'd want to see in your home before you actually buy it. So there's just, like I said, endless possibilities with that.
It's a try before you buy experience. Okay, the two things I want to talk about. One is the presentation in terms of the on-site UX. Where do you, in the photo gallery on a product page, would it be the first image? Would it be the second? Does it matter? Let's start out with that and then ask the second.
Highly recommend it's in the top 3. Doesn't have to be, oftentimes it's in the first one. People aren't really sure exactly what to do with it. So we usually leave with a lifestyle photo, which isn't going to be the 3D image, right? Because it's got a dog on it and it's got the lifestyle image in there. So we usually put it in number 2 or number 3 slot. It looks native into the thumbnail. So when someone's scrolling on the picture, they can actually access that and they know what to do with it. And then if it's on mobile, that view in my space button pops up automatically. And so that's a seamless, kind of frictionless experience as well. Real quick, just to go back a step. When it comes to 3D models deployed online, there's 2 things that I think people need to understand really quickly is that 3D models are nothing new. 3D models have been around a long time, and I think we were talking, off air about how you've had some experience with 3D models in some of your previous businesses. The problem is with 3D models is that they're oftentimes, sometimes they look great, but oftentimes they're inconsistent, and the reason why is because they're created by humans. So if you have a human create a 3D model, they generally are taking either an image or they're taking the product and they're creating their interpretation of what that looks like. And oftentimes, like I said, it's beautiful, but if you're scaling a product catalog, it can be inconsistent and it can be inauthentic. So what we really found was with our product models is that we use a scan technology that actually replicates the product. It scans it and duplicates it into a digital twin, which gives you a photorealistic, high-fidelity version of the product. And now, why is that important? Because for e-commerce, we're in the authenticity business. So what you say to the customer and what you show them is what you need to fulfill. So if they're looking at a model that they think looks a certain way or a certain color, and they're matching it up with their wall, and then it arrives, 2, 5, 10 days later, and it's not what they saw, it's actually going to increase conversion. It's going to increase return rates, right? On the flip side of that, if you give them an authentic experience and you create something and what they see is what they get and that authenticity is there, then when it shows up, it's actually going to reduce return rates because they already know it's going to fit. They already know what it's going to look like. And it's going to be a massive, massive competitive advantage for anybody that's getting into this space. 2 years from now, everyone's going to have 3D models. Right now, it's just like who wants to jump on the train.
Okay, so now that we're sold on the idea of 3D models, it brings my second question, which is, what are the steps to take towards integrating 3D models into your store? Now, from my understanding, it's a format that lends itself to something interactable on a desktop computer, where you could touch it essentially and move it around and flip it over and all. And then on a mobile, it is something you could place. You can not only interact with, but you could. Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Did you know that cloud-hosted e-commerce platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce do not provide automatic backups? Rewind steps in to protect Shopify and BigCommerce stores with automatic backups. Rewind is trusted by over 25,000 stores. Install Rewind and get to test it for free over 7 days. And to extend the 7-day trial to 30 days, head over to rewind.io, their website, and mention 2x eCommerce. Could place it in a room essentially to see how well it would sit in the setting. So you're almost bringing the future to the present, with perfected with highly accurate dimensions essentially. So what are the steps? Some listeners have 100 SKU websites or stores, and others have a few SKUs, like 5 SKUs. So what are the next steps? Would you use it in fashion, for instance, or would you really use it for household items, garden and household items?
Sure, absolutely. So I think all brands are going to want to deploy 3D on their website if they're interested. If you're interested in selling more products online, you're going to want to deploy 3D. Augmented reality is itself a little bit different. The mixed reality piece is not necessarily a great fit for every single brand out there. The technology is coming along really rapidly right now to where you can try on shoes and you can try on clothes, but within the next 2 or 3 years, that's really going to get perfected, I think. A step back really quick, for you marketers out there, you already know there's an absolute direct correlation between the quality of your image and the size of your image and your conversion rate. Right? If you offer a crappy image out there and it's not very good quality and it's not very big, your conversion rate's not going to be great. If you increase that, you'll immediately see a huge lift. This is along the same premise. By giving the customer better access to the item, it raises their perceived value and it makes them more comfortable knowing what they're buying. And so any industry is going to want that, because you're going to want to be able to see the brand in multiple dimensions or multiple access, whether you're using the mixed reality piece or not. For the brands that do have the mixed reality piece, it's going to be super transformative and absolutely amazing. And the technology is available right now to where you can use that. So you would right now, if you wanted to get your product into 3D model, let's say you have a Shopify site, just to make it easy for this example, you just need to get your model created into 3D. And you can do that numerous ways, and the vast majority of them are going to be what I said, hiring a 3D modeler. What we saw was an opportunity when we got our scans, and I'm so bullish on this technology, and I know what it's done for my brands, is that I wanted to help bring this technology to the masses, and I wanted to be part of it. And so I partnered with a company called ScanBlue, which is a German technology company that has this proprietary scan system that creates those 3D digital twins. And we became a partner of theirs that are able to do that in North America. So right now, if you have any brands listening that would like to deploy a 3D model on their site because they want to sell more product, it's really accessible, whether it's one product or 100 products. We can handle it all. You send us an item to our facility here. We scan the item, and within a few days, we get you back a 3D model for you to deploy in the right format. And so in most Shopify sites, it's a GLB file. You can actually just drag it and drop it into your product photography just like you normally would, and it's there and it's ready, and the augmented reality piece is there. So oftentimes I think people take a look at they look at the technology and think, oh, that's really cool in one day. But that day is today. That day is here, and it is available now, and it's quite affordable too. So if you look at someone getting a 3D model created, you're going to spend somewhere between $300 to $500. If it's a really nice one, somewhere between $300 to $1,000, $300 to $1,000, and we can create the best quality, high fidelity models that are the most accurate representation of your product at the same price point, that $300 to $500 range, and we can do it at scale. And so it is take a little bit of investment, but when you look at the fact that it's going to increase your conversion rate minimum 30% on the product page, it's a really easy to see the ROI on that. And that's why we're focused on bringing this 3D e-commerce to the masses with our Scan Shop.
Right, it's super interesting. A 30%, up to 30% uplift in conversions on product pages. More time spent on a product page. It is certainly compelling. So for a store that has 100 SKUs, what would you do? Would you suggest they do it in batches, for instance, or what about bulky? I think what got to me was more what if I was a furniture, selling furniture, and in our warehouse we have hundreds of designs. How would they in that case bring them to yourselves? Would you come to their facility and just stay there for a few days and just get it done? Does that make sense?
Question. Yeah, no, great question. The scan rigs themselves are not they're not little portable things in the pocket, and they don't travel easily. In fact, there's one in North America and we have it, so it's not a matter of just showing up at your facility. If you have if you have a robust catalog and you're going to need for example, say a shoe company or a handbag company, and you're going to need scans on a regular basis, then we do scan machine leases. So we could actually lease you a machine. You can have it in your facility and you can scan on it all day. It incorporates. It's just like one of your product.
That makes sense.
It's being done in Europe right now. So it's just part of the product photography pipeline. They do product photography, then it moves over and gets a 3D scan, and then it moves over into lifestyle images. And that's just a seamless, frictionless way to doing it. Most people aren't going to be in that scenario. So what I recommend is probably focusing on the top movers for you. Get 10 of your top sellers, get them digitized, get those 3D models deployed, and see for yourself how powerful it is, not only to increase conversion rates, but also provide just a massive, massive upgrade for your user experience, for your customer base.
Absolutely. And I guess they're set on transparent backgrounds, the renders which you provide.
Yeah, so the image itself is just a 3D model of the image, and you can really plug it into anything you want. And so, we like to talk about e-commerce a lot because that's what our energy and focus is around, and this is where I've spent most of my energy over the last 10 years. However, there's all sorts of other things you can do with it. So you can take the 3D model and deploy it into e-commerce for the easiest return on investment, which is it's so easy to see. This is why we're talking about it often. But you can also use it in your marketing campaigns. For example, if you look at BuddyRest.com, we have a lot of awesome, amazing product video that is actually showing the product, articulating different ways, and tying features to benefits. And you can't do that with a regular video or regular product. You can also use virtual product photography, where you can take the image and actually place it into a room and make it look native and natural. So so you eliminate the need for an expensive photo shoot. You can do all sorts of things. With this technology, once again, our limit is only our imagination. We often talk about that e-commerce just because it's such a no-brainer to invest in your product and sell more of them. But really, you can do anything you want with this, and we can help in multiple different ways. Right.
Thank you so much, Trevor. So I think augmented reality, no doubt, has become ubiquitous. Like if you go to Snapchat, for instance, their filters. So they partner up with brands like Dolce and Gabbana or what have you, and then you could virtually try on shoes on their app and share on social media. Now, if on the forefront, social apps are sharing that, are teaching, essentially training people how to use augmented reality. When those users of Snapchat actually come over to to websites, such as Body Rest, they would immediately get, the augmented reality bit in on product pages, and will be, much more, they just use it, much easier. So there's a lot going on in the front end, and I do definitely agree with you in the future of augmented reality. Now, for people who want to sort of learn more about, just follow you, learn more about 3D printing, where is the best place to reach you on?
I'm very accessible, and I'd love to connect with people. So if you have any questions, or you want to talk about 3D or e-commerce or conversion optimization, or dogs, or just life, you can feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can just search Trevor Crotts. I'm sure my name will be on the notes. Yeah. Also, I love Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, you should try to get on Clubhouse. And if you are on Clubhouse, come find me on Clubhouse. I'd love to discuss, and I'd love to have conversations there as well.
I'll be looking for you shortly. Okay, thank you, Trevor. It's an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, the pleasure's been all mine. Thank you so much for the great questions, and it's been absolutely awesome. Thanks.
Cheers.